Welcome to the channel for the future caretakers of resurrected species. Welcome to the Paleo-Zoo-Keepers Association.
Oh, hello there. Welcome to the Paleo-Zoo-Keeper Association. My name is Austin. If anyone has ever known anything about the Bone Wars, was that it was quite a notorious stain on science that two rival paleontologists were really at odds with each other, and hatefully so, and they try to outdo the other. While this is, like I said before, is a big stain in science, it has been able to get us a lot of fossil specimens, especially ones that we know very well, like Triceratops, for example. Another famous but kind of forgotten animal that the Bone Wars did brought was Uintatherium, a large herbivorous mammal, very bizarre looking mammal from ancient times. And even though it was known for a while, it gradually became forgotten, even criminally understudied. And for context like I'm going for, taking care of them in captivity, it definitely presents one heck of a challenge. But with what I was able to find, I could get a pretty good idea how to take care of them in captivity. Now, for those of you who never even heard of this animal, let's look and learn what Uintatherium is.
The Uintatherium, or the Beast of Uintas, is a large mammal that was discovered in and was named after the Uintas Mountains in Utah during the 1800s. The Uintatherium is part of a strange group of hoofed mammals called the Dinoceratans, or terrible heads, due to their strange-looking heads. As one could tell from their strange appearance, it has been a challenge to see what they are closely related to. When they were first described, they thought that they were related to the elephants. Due to their rhino-like appearance, some thought that they were closely related to the rhinoceros. With their unusually small teeth, except their saber tusks for such a large mammal, several thought that they were more closely related to the lagomorphs, like rabbits and hares. The current leading theory is that the Uintatherians are more closely related to the odd-hoofed mammals, like horses, tapirs, and rhinos, but even then, not by much. As for size, it was a pretty decently large mammal, with it standing in at 4 feet tall at the shoulder, 13 feet long, and weighing over 2 tons. Despite this, it was not the largest of its family,
For that would belong to the Eobacillus, which would weigh in over 2.5 tons and stand to almost 7 feet tall on the shoulder. Obviously a lot larger than Uintatherium. One of the interesting things about the Uintatherium is that despite the large head, its brain-to-body ratio is actually pretty small, meaning that it has a pretty small brain in relation to body size. The Uintatherium's brain is said to be basically between 240 to 320 grams. That's pretty much 40% of the size of a horse's brain, which is between 600 and 800 grams. So that's a pretty small brain in relation to body size, especially for an animal that weighs over 2 tons. This small brain to body size ratio would definitely have an effect on not just the behavior of the animal, but also on its overall biology. As I mentioned in my Hyenodon video, I've mentioned that the small brain to body size ratio is often an energy-saving mechanism to make the most out of either like a minimal diet or a rough environment. And I think the same thing would be said for Uintatherium. I would say that it has a small brain in relation to body size to make do with the plants that it eats. While it does browse, it is primarily an aquatic plant specialist, and perhaps has a small brain in relation to body size in order to be able to make do with this meal. And how it will affect its biology and behavior, well, animals that have such attributes often they would sleep more often than animals of a similar size. B, they will not eat as much as an animal of the same size. And three, or C, they have a relatively lower body temperature in relation to an animal of a similar size. So, I think these are something we will probably expect from Uintatherium. Uintatherium and his family are said to be from the Eocene, which is a period of time ranging from 56 to 34 million years ago. Like I mentioned earlier, while it is it's a large browsing animal, but it's also specialized in aquatic plants, so indicating that it mostly lived in humid wetland areas, especially tropical and subtropical wetlands. Because of this, an ample supply of water would definitely be needed for Uintatherium. So most likely we will look up to how to take care of greater one-horn rhinos and hippopotamus to be able to know how to take care of the animals in an enclosure setting.
For one animal, using the hippopotamus as a model, an enclosure enclosing 1,500 square feet, 5 feet high, with a pool of water 120 square feet, 5 feet deep, equipped with a ramp or steps. For each additional animal, increase enclosure and pool surface area by 50% of the original area.
As mentioned before, the Uintatherium would most likely do well in a tropical, subtropical area. If they were in an enclosure that's pretty close to the equator, like as if it's like in Central South America or even Southeastern Asia, they'll do pretty well in that, or even Northern Australia. They'll definitely do very well on that. The further from the equator you go, the most likely you're going to need barns that would keep them warm. Like some of the southern states of the United States, like Texas and Florida, would definitely be pretty good for Uintatherium. But when they had their occasional blizzards or cold snaps, you'll definitely need barns or stalls for them to be able to get into and be warm during this time. Of course, Hawaii is completely tropical, so it's perfect for them, but that's another story. But in more temperate areas, they're just like rhinos. They are going to need warm areas to get into. So, if barns with heaters and air ventilation would definitely be a must. I would most likely say that in areas where temperatures can reach to as low as 60s, would definitely need barns with heaters and ventilation for the Uintatherium. Taking the hippo into consideration, they could probably like temperatures between 65 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. But like I said, with temperatures reaching around 60, probably for the time being, it'd be best to have barn facilities that have heating and ventilation. The same thing would apply to water. It basically depending on the season. On the warm seasons, probably like cooler temperatures, but no temperatures lower than 65 degrees Fahrenheit. For the colder times of the year, I would say in the higher temperatures, but no higher than 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And for humidity, at least for indoor humidity, 50 to 70% humidity would be best for these animals. Any higher than that, like 80%, would definitely have mold and fungal growth, and obviously that would not be optimal for the animals or for the people. Feeding the Uintatherium would definitely be a bit of a challenge for the animal. For one thing, like I mentioned earlier, the small brain in relation to the body size would affect the animal's metabolism, especially how much food it needs to eat. Using the hippo as a model, which has a pretty low metabolism compared to an animal of similar size, a hippo would need to eat only 1 to 1.5% of its body weight every day. If we apply this to Uintatherium, which weighs over 2 tons, then it will probably be safe to say that Uintatherium will need to eat between 45 to 67.5 pounds of food a day in order to stay alive. Now, if its metabolism is no different than a rhino, then then it'll probably need to eat up to 112.5 pounds of food a day, which is 2.5% of its body weight. Like mentioned earlier in the video, it's most likely Uintatherium is specialized for soft aquatic plants with some browse in the mix. If it's possible, then a large pasture with a large lake that's choked with water plants would probably be a good way to feed a large number of Uintatherium. And the plants that would probably be needed would probably be known invasive plants such as water lettuce, hydrilla, water chestnuts, water milfoil, frogbit plants, and perhaps water soldiers, and perhaps other varieties as well. More research would need to be needed for this. And with such invasive plants, be able to cover several tons worth of food in just a few acres would probably be the best option for such animals. These paddocks with large lakes choked with aquatic plants with some supplementing of like certain minerals like salt would definitely be a must for taking care of a large number of Uintatherium, like a breeding herd. But if you can't be able to do this, and you have to have like in the smaller paddocks, like enclosures, and probably only keep like a couple, if not one, Uintatherium, then that's where it gets a little more challenging. Now, in terms of hay, grass hay would definitely be useless for Uintatherium, since it's pretty specialized for aquatic plants that its small teeth couldn't be able to grind down the grass, but not without making itself toothless in the process. And even if it was able to do that, it most likely wouldn't get anything out of it due to its specialization. Pretty similar to how Sumatran rhinos don't do well with hay in captivity. Alfalfa, with it being softer and being leafy, it would probably be a good food for Uintatherium, but best be careful because of the high protein content and other factors into it that'll probably make the Uintatherium colic. As had been mentioned earlier, along with aquatic plants, Uintatherium could occasionally browse. So the usage of browse, leaves, twigs, and branches from trees, non-toxic trees, would definitely be a must. Figuring out which ones would be best for Uintatherium would definitely be a challenge, and ample research would need to be done. Alfalfa pellets would probably be a good food source. However, in their current hard position, it'll probably be a little too much for their teeth. But having the alfalfa pellets soak overnight or for a few hours would definitely make it more palatable for the Uintatherium's teeth. One large herbivorous mammal that has a similar specialization that we can take a model after are the Sirenians, which includes dugongs and manatees. One of the types of foodstuffs that are used to feed Sirenians is basically one of them would be hydroponic grasses. Basically grasses that grow in hydroponic gardens with no soil or whatsoever. While this definitely works for manatees and such, I'm not certain it will do well for Uintatherium because, like I mentioned, for an animal this size, with the exception of these saber teeth here, the molars are pretty small and not very deeply rooted, basically only adapted for soft food. And while hydroponic gardens might be considered soft, they still have that silica that would probably be a little too much for their teeth. So, more of a iffy, but I would lean towards it not being the case. Several of the fruits and vegetables would definitely be a good food for Uintatherium, especially romaine lettuce and other fruits and veggies like carrots and bananas. I definitely think they're soft enough that they could definitely work well for Uintatherium. Also, probably for like in bulk, probably giving them manatee specific pellets, which has things like alfalfa, kelp, and other things in it, and they actually become soft and expand once they get in contact with water, which have been developed for rehabilitating manatees, having them in captivities because of injuries, so they can be released back to the wild. And I think that this will definitely help feed Uintatherium. Another type of pelleted food that could be good for the Uintatherium, like it is for manatees, is herbivorous primate pellets. That probably would definitely help. Now, multivitamins, mineral supplements would definitely be needed, just like they are for the manatees. Although I think that since that, one, the manatees are actually closely related to elephants, even though I know they don't look like it, but they are part of the Uintatherium group. And we actually, and the minerals and such requirements that are done for manatees are actually based on what's been done for elephants. Now, with Uintatherium's classification being a little iffy, it will definitely be a lot more trickier. But with the current understanding is that they're more to the perissodactyls, which are basically like horses, tapirs, and rhinos. Probably lean more towards that on the multiple vitamins and mineral requirements that Uintatherium will need. In terms of enrichment, there are several things that could be used for enrichment for Uintatherium. One would be boomer balls, which are basically steel reinforced plastic balls that are very common for zoo enrichment. Providing scratching posts would definitely not only be a good enrichment, but it will also be good for the Uintatherium's health, especially their skin care. Along with, for nutritional reasons, browse could also be a good enrichment item, so that you could be able to hang it up in certain areas so that the Uintatherium can express natural behavior. Of course, providing an opportunity to be in the water, or heck, even being in a mud wallow would be a good enrichment opportunity, and it will help them with skin care as well. One of the activities that could be done or be seen as enrichment is basically interactions or training with Uintatherium. However, how well this would work would be probably iffy because, like mentioned before, Uintatherium has a very small brain in relation to body size. So it might take a lot of patience and trial and error to be able to train the animals. But if you're able to, not only you could be able to have them have positive interactions with the keepers, but you can also be able to get them close enough so that you can be able to examine them for medical reasons, and even be able to have guests be able to get up close and personal with them, make it a good experience for both sides. The Uintatherium, this fascinating ungulated mammal, is, I personally believe, criminally understudied and not very appreciated in the last few decades. With this video on how to hypothetically take care of this unique mammal, I hope it's able to get you interested in this beast of the Uintas Mountains. Next month's video is going to be a very different one, and a very unique one at that. What would happen, or what would it be like if the Daedon was introduced to the Ngorongoro Valley in Africa? Anyone who likes one of my old videos of the Smilodon in Santa Catalina Island, it's basically going to be on the same sort of deal. If you like what I'm doing and you want to be able to sponsor a video on something you're interested in, please let me know. Basically, a video for a singular topic, like for example, the health concerns for Smilodon in captivity, that's $200. If it's like, for example, feeding and habitat considerations for gold monoxids, that'll be $300, and so forth. Topics for these videos could include, but are not limited to, feeding, enrichment, habitat considerations, health concerns, breeding, transportation, rewilding. On the topic of rewilding, it can either be reintroducing an extinct animal to a previous location, such as Thylacines of Tasmania, or Daedon Ngorongoro Valley, like the ones coming up next month. If you would like to sponsor an episode or a video, I will show my email address later in the video. And also some rules. The payment must be done at least a month after you made the request. In full or in parts, it's negotiable. And due to my work schedules, I'm most likely to be able to work at only one video a month. But I could also work on multiple videos for those multi-video requests. You could basically buy a month. On the videos themselves, it could be on any topic, basically on captive situations for prehistoric animals, or even like rewilding in the 21st century. Also, no hominids, like Australopithecus and up. You'll be too close to human zoos. The regular primates like the giant ape Gigantopithecus or the giant baboon and Dinopithecus are okay in this point. And also, there are some animals I probably would not be able to do in the fossil record, especially those that are only known from a single tooth. If you would like to sponsor a video, here's my email, paleo_zookeeper@yahoo.com. Months you can be able to buy are September, October, November, and December of this year. The deadline to do so is the 1st of August, and payments is done via PayPal. Convert to US cash. I hope you all have a grand day, especially as we get into the summer, at least for us in the Northern Hemisphere. Adios!